It doesn't begin with a scream. It begins with silence, a small house, air too still to breathe, a clock ticking like a nervous heart. Somewhere down the hallway, a voice breaks the quiet. You freeze. You hold your breath the way other children hold toys. And that's the night you start growing up, not because you wanted to, but because no one else could. You didn't stop being a child. You just stopped being safe enough to be one. You learned to listen harder than you spoke. You counted footsteps, not stars. You smiled to keep the peace. You became the calm in every storm, the therapist in every room. They called it maturity, but it was survival, a kind of invisible burden that children carry silently, because no one ever notices the weight. Psychologists have a word for this: parentification. It's when a child becomes the caregiver instead of the one being cared for. It doesn't just change your childhood, it rewires your nervous system. You learn that love must be earned, that calm is a transaction, that your needs are dangerous and everyone else's needs are urgent. So you disappear, not physically but emotionally. In your place grows a version of you who performs, pleases, stabilizes, and never asks for anything. And then that child grows up. They build careers, relationships, entire lives, but deep down, they're still walking on eggshells, still listening for footsteps in quiet rooms, still bracing for storms that never come. They overfunction, they overgive, they confuse exhaustion with worth. They call it independence, but it's really fear of needing someone who might not show up. This is how childhood survival patterns become adult self-sabotage. You might notice it now. You apologize for crying. You flinch at compliments. You only rest when you're sick. You trust chaos more than peace. You love deeply but feel unsafe in softness. You give everything but receive almost nothing. These aren't personality traits. They're coping mechanisms your younger self built to survive. And beneath all that strength, something aches because the inner child you buried never died. They're still whispering, "Why didn't anyone protect me?" What saved you then is suffocating you now. But here's the part no one told you: healing doesn't begin with fixing. It begins with witnessing, sitting quietly with that small voice inside you saying, "I shouldn't have had to be so strong." And you answer, "You're right, you shouldn't have, but you survived." That's the beginning of real work, not erasing the past, but finally acknowledging it. You start grieving the things you never had the chance to mourn, the innocence you lost, the safety you needed, the childhood you weren't allowed to live. And slowly, very slowly, something shifts. One night you cry and don't apologize. The world doesn't end. Nothing breaks. Another night you sleep, truly sleep, without one ear open. Your breath deepens. Your body begins to believe in quiet again. You notice the hum of the refrigerator, the morning light, the soft sound of your own heartbeat without fear in it. This is what healing sounds like. Not thunder, just breath. Strength was never silence. It was never perfection. It's the courage to stay soft after everything tried to harden you. You were not broken, you were overused, and now you're learning to rest. One day, peace stops knocking, it moves in. You wake in your own room, no footsteps to decode, no moods to manage, just stillness. The house didn't change, you did. You built a new home inside yourself, one with open windows and softer walls. And the child you once were, they're here too, safe, seen, unhurried. This time the silence isn't warning, it's peace. Because peace isn't a place you find, it's a language your body remembers, and you're finally fluent again. You were the child who grew up too fast. Now you're the adult who finally slowed down. You didn't get a childhood, but you still get a future. And this time you get to write it.